right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this webinar today as part of our short-term care initiative for integrity. I'm joined today with my partner in crime, Dennis Reiner. And Dennis and I are calling from different states. So if I'm blowing your ears off and he's quiet or vice versa, I apologize ahead of time about that. But for those of you who've been on the webinars before, you know Dennis and I have been doing quite a bit of live webinars, 30 the first time around, and I think 48 of them in 38 days that we're coming down to the last couple of weeks of. So it's been our pleasure, and we've had some fun doing some trainings on different sales concepts and how to go out and show you how easy it is, how to go out and stack policies, etc. And then we have product training as well. And today is kind of one of those, we call this Coach's Corner, and basically, you know, give you a little bit of background and talk a little bit at you probably, and then we'll open it up. And if you, we'd love to have feedback. And Dennis, I'll just open it up after a little bit and we'll go from there. But these are basically can be short webinars or longer, depending on what kind of feedback we get. I know sometimes we can have pretty good numbers and people are a little shy, but you can type things in your chat. And as we get rolling, I'll chat at you for a second, and then I'll let Dennis turn it over, and then I'll start opening up the mics so that you certainly can feel like you can jump in and add in something if you'd like to. So that being said, the biggest thing out there is that if you've been on our website, we'll show you that today, obviously, but if you're new to this webinar, make sure you go on the website and check out all those recordings, because we do have basically every topic that we've hit out there. And one of the things that I won't preach at you today, but just how important it is. We've got a lot of gray hair in America, and it's so important that we're going out there, stepping out of our comfort zone just a little bit. No matter what product we're spreading out there, we want to make sure we just finish it up with a really brief introduction to the extended care market and find out where your clients are sitting, because this is going to be the perfect storm in these next 6 or 7 years. It's going to be scary how much we're going to hear about this market, because all those baby boomers are getting older day by day. 10,000 of them plus are turning 65 and 70. And we're really seeing now that we're going to have a big need for this type of product in the future. So, Dennis, I'll let you jump in and just chat a little bit. And then as you're doing that, maybe I'll open it up, and just in case we can get a conversation going, that'd be great.
Okay, Tom, thanks. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. I like this format because it allows you to jump in, whether you put questions in the chat. I think we already have one in the chat, Tom, that we'll be able to refer back to. But, remember, we've been doing this for many, many years. And really the first opportunity that we saw as far as this, kind of the long-term care explosion of growth was in the 90s and through early 2000s. And what's happened, in the most recent handful of years ago is we started to see the trend of a growing shift in the marketplace. So everything today revolves around what's best for the consumer from the standpoint of, and these products are definitely more consumer friendly today. There's more individuals, as Tom said, with this silver tsunami that's upon us, that are going to need help. And so your ability to get to them, where you have a menu, a one-stop shop, if you will, for really everything in what we call the extended care space, which includes the short-term care products as well as the standalone home health care products. And as a result of that, they all center around the same goal, which is to get more acceptance by consumers. So therefore, the products have to have less underwriting, and certainly the extended care products do, and even the standalone home health care products are even further a wider net. And then also, again, it has to be easy to explain and simple. And with that, it has to be, we have to make sure we're hitting the affordability button, because not every client is going to be well-heeled financially. Some are going to be in tougher budget situations, but there's a solution for everyone. And Tom, as you know, GTL kind of leads the number of state availability because they've been at it the longest in our integrity sponsored lineup here with 37 states. But Omni's closed in really close with 34. Rhode Island and Oregon just came aboard, and we're fully expecting, with Tom working with the team at Manhattan, that we're going to be able to maybe see a few more states. We'd love to get up to about 39 if possible. And Wallaby, a recent addition that came aboard late August, is looking to have additional states here in early 2024 that will be coming aboard as well. So you can
You
see where
bet.
all the products stand alone separately and where they play together.
Yeah, I just checked today, actually, in Rhode Island, we knew was in the hopper and it was approved, and they had to get the rates in there and everything up to par. And I did check today on the system, and it was available today. So as far as I know, it might have been this weekend, but it was the first I've seen of it today. So that was good to know.
Yeah, the weekend. I think typically they try to do those updates on the weekend, and same again in the home care side. So you're noticing a trend here. The previous map showed the gray states, California, New York. Now we're showing it in purple. But again, Manhattan Home Care Select came on the scene. Their previous version product is still in a handful of states, and we hope to get those added into the to the mix as well, because that would put us up actually 2 above GTL. And then True Freedom is the home care non-insurance product, which is membership hours, like a AAA type program, and that's in all 50 states.
Yeah, you bet. That's and like I said, we talked about a lot of different things, and somebody had asked on here, what's the maximum these policies can pay out, and how do the restoration work? Kind of a dual-edged sword there. So if you guys see on your thing, I've got some chat and Q&A. I'll let you kind of check that too, and you can mute yourself. Otherwise, if you want to jump in and ask a question, go ahead and unmute, but I appreciate that. Trying to do 5 things at once here, Christian. Okay, let's see. Dennis, I appreciate that. And that's one of the things, we have webinars talking about all the different things we have, and that's mainly just on our support page. And I'm going to jump over there right now just to show you that we have that available on this integritystc.com. And as I lead into answering that question that somebody put up there about the, how much can they pay? I'll give a quick example of kind of the power of these plans using, I think it's Omniflex that we use for that one, and how the restoration works, because it has 2 really important points of this. And it's one of those things that we want to make sure we cover. And I also want to talk a little bit today about the stacking too. But before I do that, just remember, everything we're talking about is here. You guys have heard me say it 1,000 times on these webinars, if you've been on any of the previous ones, is that we don't toss you out of the plane without a parachute. We have everything you need to be successful at integritystc.com. And I'll get into the sales area in a second. But all the products that Dennis talked about that we saw in the maps, here's our full comprehensive short-term care plan. And this is part of our Integrity Short-Term Care Initiative. We call it our perfect portfolio of products. Right now, it's 6 products, and it's really all you need to go out there and be really successful helping folks, because you have the comprehensive short-term care, and then you've got the home health care only plans, and including that non-insurance plan Dennis talked about that's available in all 50 states, the True Freedom plan. So in a nutshell, if you've been to us with plan design or objections, and we talked about the fact that you can go into this basically with anybody you're going to be sitting in front of, just about. I mean, when you get into these home health care only plans, if you've seen our InstaPivot underwriting tool, you know that some of those plans are literally, are you getting help today, or are you living in a nursing home or assisted living? That's how broad it is. So that net is about as wide as you can throw it, right? So almost anybody, if not everybody you're talking to in your area of expertise in insurance, whether it's final expense or Medicare, you're going to have the ability to help them protect themselves with some type of product. And then we get a little deeper into it using some of these underwriting tools and using some of the product training that we do to show you that, with Wellaby and Omniflex, for example, they have 2-tiered underwriting. And Omniflex has the 2 tiers that's probably the most liberal as far as the limited plan goes. But Wellaby's limited plan is a little bit stronger than the limited plan on Omniflex. And the underwriting is a little tougher, but the nice part about Wellaby is they really go the extra mile and have we call it the uninsurable spouse rider, right? It's a limited rider that is really nice in this type of industry, to have a plan for mom and dad where maybe one of them's healthy and one of them's not as healthy. You can still keep the conversation going and offer that rider with the healthier spouse's plan. So some great things to look for. Recover Cash, again, is just a standby. It's always been there. It's in the most states right now, and it's really one of those plans that does some great things for your clients. So whatever you're looking for, we've got it. And when you go into the sales and marketing areas, real quick for some of you, before we open it up a little bit more, got some other people logging on now, which is great. Welcome. And when you go into the sales marketing area, you can see here's some stats on the short-term care that we show you. And then this is the area I just wanted to make sure you saw is if you ever missed one of our webinars or you got on late or your marketer sent you to these a little bit late in the game, remember all of our webinars that we've given, you can see this, they did a great job. Our team here, Corey out in Florida, who does our web design, did a great job of getting all these different webinars on here for you. So again, these are the full-blown webinars, super sticky solutions, down to home healthcare only plans, short-term care 201 that talks about stacking, pretty much any product you'd need. And I won't read them off to you because we're sitting at about 54 or 55 of them already. So lots of different topics for you there. And if you go back here, you can see we've got some shorter videos here on product specific stuff. And then Dennis has a really nice, strong area. Dennis has had the opportunity to do tons of consumer seminars and live webinars, or excuse me, live seminars over the years. And he has had the opportunity to do some great training in this area. And he brings some of his expertise here with the sales strategies and fireside chats as well. So again, I'll be quiet on that one, and I'll turn it over to you, Dennis, to chat a little bit, and I'll start opening up maybe a way to show some of the power in the plan and the restoration, if that's okay.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. It's just important that I think one of the real keys to areas that are not your core products is really the preparation side of things, preparing carefully and making sure, because the product side of it is one component, and really the solutions, although they're, the devil lies in the details of where the separation points are. The real key is to have your clients leaning in. And so, preparing in advance of your interview, making sure that you know exactly how you want to bring up and start the conversation. That's why, as Tom said, reviewing all the videos and the things that are available. We know that there's only so many hours in the day, but you can take the time at your convenience to pick and choose what's most important to you that helps you in that preparation so that you're ready for that opportunity when you are at the end of a client interview, or maybe at the end of a review, whenever it's appropriate time that you're trying to introduce this extended care topic. So, Tom, if there's additional questions in the chat, or if you've opened it up and anyone is bumping into a situation that they need help with, or needs clarification on maybe a feature of the product, or maybe something in the conceptual area, it doesn't really matter what it is. This Coach's Corner is really just designed to help you. We've been doing this a while, obviously, and we know where the puddles are, so we're just trying to help you to avoid the puddles. And sometimes it's really good because someone prompts a question or makes a statement that maybe you were thinking about, and it'll help the whole group. So
yeah, and one of them, Dennis, they talked about the power of this, and don't worry, this is Omniflex that we use for this example because we've done a training on Omniflex showing this. But all the comprehensive short-term care plans really pack a punch. And one of the reasons we put this together is that a lot of agents ended up looking at it saying, well, short-term care, they realized some educated adults, I know this was firsthand in my family, where they thought, well, short-term care, does that pay like 15 or 20 days or 30 days when you get out of a hospital or something? So we wanted to show that that's kind of a weird name, short-term care. We use extended care a lot in our sales webinars, as you know. And part of the reason is right here, because we just want to show you these plans are really flexible. We can scale them down to be super, super small and do great things on a smaller scale that's so affordable it'll knock your socks off. And on the flip side, they can really pack a punch, which I'm going to show you here. Again, if you're starting out at $400 per day on a facility-based benefit, all these comprehensive plans have facility and home care. Sometimes the home care is base, sometimes facility is the base. With Omniflex, the base plan is facility. And I'm going to go through this really fast. It'll be like drinking out of a garden hose if you haven't seen it. But if you go on our Omniflex training or you go on our Fast Facts, you'll see this video as well. But all I'm trying to show you here is, if you look at facility, $400 a day, that's $12,000 a month. And if I sold you a year-long plan, a 360-day plan, if you do the math, that's $144,000 available on the facility side for one claim. And then when we talk about restoration, which I'll cover in a minute because somebody had asked about it, you can see that could double potentially with restoration. And then with home care, you throw that on, we're not done with just facility, right? We could throw a $300 per day home care plan on there. That's nine grand a month. And if you had a 360-day plan there, that's 108 grand. So with restoration, it would double. But what I'm trying to show you is down below here. With that, with no inflation on this plan, you could have a $252,000 benefit for one claim potentially. Somebody maybe went to home care and then to facility or vice versa. If they used up all those benefits, that's a macho plan. And when you double it with restoration, that's $500,000 potentially with that plan. And then I'm going to go really fast here just so you have to drink out of that fire hose again. If you throw inflation on that, we have inflation on Omniflex, and some of the other plans have inflation as well. And if you put simple inflation on here until it doubled, look at that. If they waited to go to claim until that doubled, $800 per day, $24,000 a month, $288. Okay, with restoration again, I'll explain that more in a second. $576. But if you look at that, home care, I had to add that on there. 300 doubled to 600. That's 18 grand a month. $216,000 potentially for one claim from your home care side. So do the math on that. 216 plus 288. That's $500,000 potentially for one claim. And if you add restoration on there, that's where some of you have heard me say, we could have $1 million policy with some of these plans, right? So that's pretty powerful. And again, just to show you the affordability on that, if this is a 55-year-old in Iowa, for example, that's $90 a month without inflation for a $500,000 potential plan, or $252 per one claim. If you throw the inflation on there, that's $163. Again, that's for $1 million potential policy. And if you move that up into the wheelhouse of some of you on this call at 65, it's probably double what I showed you there. I think that 163 is like 322. So yeah, it's a Cadillac plan, but you're selling a lot of muscle in that plan, right? So the biggest thing I want you to come away with this is realizing that that plan there has a lot of power, but you don't have to sell. That's why we call them Omniflex, right? That's why all these plans are super flexible. And you can do some good things. We're going to talk before we let you go today about stacking policies together. You can have tremendous power in these plans. And on the best part about it, you can hit the affordability button on anybody you're talking to as well. So you can really make these plans affordable for anybody as well. Okay. So the rest of you, I did put you on mute. And Dennis, I'm going to hope, did you get a chance to read some of the other ones? And should I hit restoration quick since I'm there?
I think so, Tom. You may as well. Okay. I mean, because it does vary between the different carriers. And although we're not trying to give a full explanation, but I think it may be a short explanation just on restoration. You kind of talked about the power of it within your example here, but maybe just so that clients know maybe the difference between, or the agents know the difference between, so they can explain to their clients between restoration in the LTC world and why restoration is so relevant in the short-term care or extended care world.
You bet. You bet. On those fast fact videos that we have on our site, you can have that a full video on that walks through a real specific example that we did for some of our specialists in long-term care and short-term care. So you don't even need to do that. All you need to know is restoration gets used in short-term care policies. And the reason is long-term care, the triggers of a long-term care policy say you need help with 2 of 6 activities of daily living, like bathing, dressing, etc. And with long-term care, where we buttered our bread for years, as you know, they said you had to have a doctor look at that and say you'll need help for at least 90 days. Well, that really limited some of the shorter claims for long-term care insurance, right? With short-term care, it's the same thing, that both of them have cognitive impairment as well. But with this one, with short-term care policies and these home health care only policies, if you have help with 2 of 6 activities of daily living, you don't have to have that 90-day requirement in there. So what that does is we sell a lot of first day coverage plans with short-term care, especially instead of that 90 days everybody's used to with long-term care. But the reason we do that is we want people at claim time to have access to their benefits right away. These are indemnity benefits, remember, so they pay out regardless of any other insurance you might have if you hit the triggers. Then you can go on claim for things like knee replacements, hip replacements, surgery recovery. You fall and have a small fracture, things that when you're older, you're probably going to need help with activities of daily living for at least a short period of time. So we do have a lot of little shorter claims. And the beauty of these policies, some of them are more flexible than others, but Omniflex, since it's on the screen there, The beauty of that thing is that if you use up 10 days or 30 days of your policy, and I sold you that 360-day policy, for example, regardless of what I sold you, but if I sold you a 360, if I use 40 days of it up on a claim, I would be happy as a clam because I got some benefits. Then it would spit those 40 days right back into my plan as long as I'm healthy again and I don't need any outside help for 180 days. So that's the trigger. And once you do that 180 days, think about how often that would happen if you had a hip replacement, knee replacement, surgery, something where you're going to go in where a lot of people can see that happening to them. And some of the major conditions. Some people, I had a brother-in-law who had a stroke, and 2 months later, he was out golfing again. He felt fine, but this policy would have paid when he was laid up. And then it would have put the days back into the plan, waiting for the fact that he might have a more catastrophic coverage that he's going to need those full amount of days for. And it'll keep doing that. Omniflex, for example, will keep doing it over and over again on both the facility and the home healthcare side until you hit double the maximum amount of days. That's what that doubling is up here that you see. So everybody won't use all those days. I'm not going to be out here saying, oh, everybody will use $1 million. I'm just telling you that theoretically in what you're paying for, it's possible. So even if it won't restore the full amount, it's still getting a huge amount of potential for claims with these plans. So that's a little 30,000 foot view of the restoration, and some of the carriers handle a little different as far as one time or multi times, but we have all that in the product training as well. Okay, Dennis, you want to add anything to that one?
Yeah, Tom, I was just going to say that the key to restoration, although it's included, you want to maybe accentuate that when you're talking to your consumers, because you want to say to them exactly what Tom said. A lot of people don't see their health changing to the point where it's going to be dramatic, but they would agree with you that there are certain circumstances like the breaking of a hip or a fall or a fracture. In other words, they don't see themselves necessarily oftentimes going to a facility and being confined for an indefinite period of time. And the reason why what Tom just says is so important is because what you're really trying to establish with the client is if they reach into their pocket and decide to pay for this benefit, this is a benefit that they could see themselves using. The problem that we've had historically with long-term care is people don't want to pay for a benefit that they never feel that they're ever going to use if the perception is that this is, really more based on facility, even though traditional home long-term care has home care as well, but that 90-day certification is kind of the gatekeeper. And so you can really get some great mileage when you're having that conversation with the clients, because if it's under $100 a month or $163, as Tom is illustrating here, what you're trying to correlate is the power of the leverage and the reality that they'll actually use this. People don't mind paying for things that they're going to use. They really don't want to pay for coverage or the perception that, hey, I'm going to go to a facility. Now, Tom just said $144,000 for a facility is great. $108,000 for home care is also outstanding. And so remember, most people want to age in place. And so you want to focus on that. But say if their care progresses and they had to go into that facility, even for a short period of time, remember, they'll be able to get money out of the policy. So I like the fact that it's built in, but I like the fact that you can share that with a client, that they don't pay extra for that restoration. I think that's an important point, Tom, that we can make. And I don't know if there's some additional calls I didn't see, questions I didn't see in the chat, anything that was any different.
Somebody was asking about, I'm going to open up an application really quick. Somebody was asking to share a little bit more information about the insurance for the healthy spouse and the not so healthy spouse. And then they follow that up with, do you have to be healthy for short-term care? So I'm going to open up to really quick while I'm doing that, Dennis, if you can give some fill and start answering that. And I'm going to open up the Manhattan, Omniflex, and the Wellaby apps really quick, just to show how easy it is to get these policies, if that's okay.
Yeah, one of the questions sometimes that's coming, why that's asked, is because oftentimes one spouse is healthier than the other. And I don't know if you can pull up the Wellaby one first, Tom, but one of the things in working with Wellaby that we wanted to stress to them was the importance of trying to establish couples business. By that, I mean that maybe both couples aren't healthy, and there's always a situation where one is maybe healthy enough for the full-blown plan or healthy enough for that tier the other tier underwriting that Tom indicated that opens up the net a little bit wider. But what do you do about the unhealthy spouse? And Wallaby, we help them to solve that particular problem by having a rider that, as long as the person wasn't receiving care, that they could get a short period of time of home care. It doesn't really matter what the period of time is. What you're doing is you're solving the problem for both individuals, because if you only solve the problem for one, then the other tends to kind of react in a way that is emotionally based, which is, well, if Mary, this is John and Mary, and John says, well, if Mary can't have coverage, then I don't want it either, even though John was healthy enough to get coverage. And this is where Tom's pointing out that question right there with Wallaby on how easy that is. These policies, Tom, just as we're talking about Wallaby or just talking about them in general, are so much more forgiving when it comes to the underwriting side of things to give individuals the opportunity. We're placing about 90% of the business overall, and this is an insurance right here with that uninsurable spouse opportunity that you could place 100% of the business if you have one that was healthy and one that wasn't unhealthy. It's a great way to play to that emotional side to make sure, because sometimes it's not just about logic, it's about emotion.
Yeah, and this is the again, the Wellaby Essential Care and Essential Care Plus, and they have what's called a two-tiered plus underwriting, and Omniflex has a two-tiered underwriting, and that's not to make it complicated, it's just to spread the net wider. So I want to make sure I stress that, and we might be able to have a chance to open the InstaPivot tool just to show you could use that as well. But a lot of agents just use the applications. It's so simple. When you get into these are comprehensive short-term care plans, but when you get into the home health care only plans, those plans don't have facility, but I'll tell you what, those questions are about as easy as can be, going, are you currently receiving help for activities of daily living, or are you living in a facility? And if they're not, a lot of those you can give them coverage on a full-blown home health care only plan. So they're very strong. This is the full comprehensive plan now. And watch here, the first question, are you currently confined to or receiving assistance with your activities of daily living, right? So you can look at that and say, well, most people are going to definitely say no to that. That is all you need to answer to be able to get that uninsurable spouse rider that Dennis was talking about. Literally, that's the only knockout for that one. Then you go down to the rest of this. And again, you can do this with our tools, or you can do it right out of the app as you're asking people questions. It's just very, very easy to understand. The Part B of the medical, literally, these are high end, and I'm not going to read them all to you, but these are high end concepts here, right? Do you need help with a walker, wheelchair? Are you in a hospital bed with oxygen? Have you been confined in a medical facility or assisted living in the last 6 months? Within the past 24 months, you can see that there's some pretty major conditions here. And then if you go down, it says, if you answer yes to any of the questions 2 through 6, you should apply for the limited benefit secondary insured rider. And if you can answer yes to these broad questions, then you can get the Essential Care or the Essential Care Plus plan potentially. That's their main comprehensive plans, right? So most people you're going to meet across can probably say they haven't had any issues with this middle area, 2 through 6. So then they're going to be able to get at least more coverage than the limited benefit. And then you ask these last few questions, and if they answer yes to this, it's not a knockout at all. It just says you have to get the Essential Care plan, which is pretty robust, right, Dennis? $250 for a facility, $150 for home care per day. So those are still really strong plans. So if you can answer no to all of these, saying you haven't had any problems, then you can offer the full-blown plan that's a really strong plan for Wellaby. So again, I'm not reading all these to you, but the same concept exactly when it comes to Omniflex, for example, or GTL. Omniflex is a two-tiered system again. Here's our knockouts, super broad. I won't read them to you, but if you go to any of our training and you have examples of these apps on the site, you can see most of our clients can go there and say, well, I pick a company I like quite a bit. I look at the app and I just have a conversation with them and find out, can they get a policy? So the nice part, remember, look at all the flexibility you have, you guys. Somebody said, what if one health with spouse is not as healthy? You never have to worry with short-term care. With long-term care, that was a huge issue. With short-term care, if I can't get mom and dad to qualify for Omniflex, tell you what, no problem at all. I say, well, mom, you're healthier. Let's get you this more robust plan with Omniflex. And if we have to, we can pivot over and say, I'll get you a home health care only plan for dad, or I can get you the True Freedom plan, or whatever the case may be. Or you could have one of them qualify for the full-blown plan within the same carrier, and one of them qualify for the limited plan. So it sounds way more complicated when we're barking it at you on a webinar than what it really is. It's very, very, very inclusive on the websites. When you go in there, it'll show you and point you what your coverage can be. And it's super easy to do when you're with a client. So don't get scared that there's too many options either. It's really simple, and most of the time it's straightforward.
And Tom, the importance about leading with the extended care is just, even though people want to age in place, there is a progression of care. There is, to some degree, some reality that client's health may progress where they can't stay at home. And that's why we like that facility side of the benefits of the extended care. But the reality is, giving people some coverage is better than giving people no coverage. And if you have to start with the idea that, because your comfort level of when you're going through the questions and leading that client along, trying to determine, it really is, health is important. Everything starts and stops just with what Tom just talked about, which is really the question is, which of these carriers will take this case? And you can, get comfortable navigating through just the paper app before you get to the e-app, both with Wallaby and also with GTL and with Manhattan. You can also get comfortable with understanding how to use that InstaPivot tool that Tom said, which again, some of you don't want to reinvent the wheel and become, experts in this area. What you're really trying to do is just, be a problem solver for your clients. So we're not trying to push anyone into more study or more of using of tools that you may or may not want to do. The most important thing is just in conversation, as Tom said, it's just real easy to be in conversation. You may already know if they're existing clients of yours and you've seen them over the years, you'll know whether or not, based on some other things that you've done with them, perhaps in the Medicare space or final expense space, of whether or not they can get coverage. And so make it easy, make it conversational. And then when you lead with the right solution, because all these puzzle pieces that you're seeing here all have a purpose. But really today, what we're trying to help you to do is to hit the easy button. So we're trying to take off the traditional long-term care. We're trying to take off the more complicated asset-based products, One American, Nationwide, Securian. Not that they're not, products that don't have a place, but if you're working mainly that 65 on up marketplace, then the probability of getting people coverage and not having that flexibility of two-tier underwriting is not going to exist. And that's why the comprehensive STC and the standalone home healthcare plans are great. And we even have some other options as well, Tom.
Yeah. And again, this is just one of the other presentations you were on when we did our STC 201. We talked about, how the market progressed, like Dennis was talking about, and how a lot of people will look at a home health care only plan, not only for the bigger underwriting net, but to complement. And that's kind of one of the things we spent some time on, is that remember the power and flexibility of these indemnity plans is that you can stack these different policies together. And if you remember when we did our designing plans, I think finding the niche webinar that we did, we talked a little bit about some people might be out there that you're going to come across. Remember how we start the conversation with whatever products we're selling? You just start a simple conversation. Have you taken care of your extended care? Now, David did have a long-term care policy, remember, and he had a 90-day elimination period, and his health isn't as good anymore. So he was a little bit worried now because he's getting a little bit older, and he's wondering about, what am I going to do about that elimination period? I got a lot of money I'm facing on a 90-day elimination. So we just showed a quick little plan design on David to show that you could do a little $100 plan limited rider because his health wasn't as good. This happens to be Omniflex again. And we showed examples from all the carriers on that webinar, if you remember. And basically we showed, hey, for 21 bucks a month, we could complement his long-term care plan. We never want to replace those things. Those are great deals. So keep that in place, but then throw another complement plan. So that's the first concept of stacking with an existing plan. But then remember, and somebody wrote this in, Dennis, this is why I'm spending time on it. Somebody said, can you stack short-term care plans and the home health care plans? And yeah, you can. As a matter of fact, if we're looking again, we showed different examples. It looks like I'm throwing everything at Omniflex here, but we showed examples from the different carriers as well. But with Omniflex, for example, the comprehensive short-term care plan and with the Manhattan Life Home Healthcare Select, we did this here showing somebody who maybe was a little less healthy still, because you notice I put it at $100 plan. And boy, look at the power of this. Omniflex limited plan, $100 max if you have some health conditions, right? And you look at that, the premium is $397 annually or 33 bucks a month. But remember, what does Omniflex have? The short-term care, it's the only one out there that has a $300 RX reimbursement, right? So we know when people are getting older, 65-year-olds anyway, 65 to 79, the average is 27 different refills or prescriptions per year. So a lot of people will use that full $300, especially if they're less healthy, right? They probably have some meds. So in this example, if we took the 300 bucks off that premium, you can see there $97.80 would be the net realized premium, or $8 a month for that Omniflex $3,000 a month plan for a full year. Then if I stack the Home Healthcare Select Deluxe plan from Manhattan Life, keeping it with the same carrier, I can get $450 of home health care potentially per day for 365 days. The premium there is $365 annually or 30 bucks a month, but that has an RX benefit too, doesn't it? It has $300 per day. To use the same example we use up here, if you took 300 off, you're down to 65 annually or 542. The reason that asterisk is there is what? It actually has a $600 a day reimbursement on this home healthcare plan potentially, so you could even get reimbursed more. But all we had to show here is, even if we just use a $300 maximum reimbursement, remember, both these plans will reimburse on the same meds. Both these plans will pay benefits for the same claim. Why? They're indemnity policies that pay regardless of any other insurance. So you don't have to worry about that, okay? And if you look at the combination of both, 397 plus 365 is 762, but take off the 600 bucks for the reimbursement. If you only use 300 on each, you could use more, 162.80, okay? So again, I clicked up on a different screen, so I got to get back here. But look what I did there for 13 bucks a month. And again, I put on here, I think this is the one I finished off with saying seriously, because look at what happened. With the Omniflex, I got 3,000 bucks facility coverage or 36 grand, potentially twice for restoration. I've got home healthcare coverage, 3,000 a month. Then I've got my home healthcare select that can pay at the same time, $450 per day potentially, or $164,000 in my pool. And then I've got the home healthcare select 7,200 extra home healthcare aid benefit. So it's up to 171. And I say seriously, with all intent and truth, if I was going to say you could theoretically get 243 grand worth of coverage with restoration 315 for 13 bucks a month or less, that's pretty scary. And again, you guys know from our product training, the home healthcare premiums will go up in age bands, so that's going to not stay at that 13 bucks a month forever, but the Omniflex will stay solid at that. Those don't go up. So all we're trying to show you there is the power of stacking. And yes, there are certain stipulations for some carriers, like GTL is going to say go ahead and stack, but we have some limitations you have to worry about. The good news is their e-app will stop you and should protect you if you try to overkill on the stacking for one client. Okay.
Hey,
Dennis,
Tom, I just want
to
to, yeah, I was just going to say, we're showing you in a perfect world how to go in with that client. And if you're having a separate conversation, maybe all of this in terms of what you're trying to do at the end of a review or at the end of a Medicare open enrollment interview, you can't possibly do maybe all of it in one time. As you get good at this, because that which you persist in doing becomes easier. Not that any of the tasks that you're doing changes, it's just your ability to perform it will increase. And so I would also just say, start with whatever becomes easiest. You can still come back in if you put in place, as Tom said, that the Omniflex, and then if you had to come back in at a return time to layer in the home health care. In a perfect situation, you'd like to do it all at one time. But if you're confident because you're doing it for the first time, just start where you can start, and know that you have in mind the ability to come back in and tell the client, gee, we put in place that Omniflex, but then I realized that you had mentioned before about wanting some additional home care. So I went to work and I found another way. So in other words, make this, again, it's all conversational. It doesn't mean that everything has to be done at the same time. You're still stacking, whether you're stacking in one interview or stacking with a subsequent appointment to come back. Just keep in mind, the whole idea is that you're about conversion, right? You're about converting that prospect who may be a client with a different product, but they're a prospect for you with these products. You're converting them to become a client. So I just think that's important to point out, Tom, that when we're so used to that aspect of stacking because we understand and we've done it, quite a bit. But if you're doing it for your very first time, don't feel like you have to be in a situation where you're trying to do too much. Get them converted and then come back if you have to.
Right. And I don't have it open. I'd have to get into my password manager. Somebody asked about, we were going to open up and let you guys talk, but you're doing a great job typing in some different examples. Somebody was talking about how costly are these for age 69 or above? And I was going to pull up the InstaPivot. Dennis, talk a little bit. I think you'd probably have it off your cuff as far as ages for these plans, because that is a really nice thing to realize that these plans have much broader age groups for anybody. I can probably show you.
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at the Manhattan on the standalone home health care, for example, that age band, it starts at 45. But if we want to talk to your average age of your, Medicare or final expense type customer, let's just take age 65 to 70. In the 3 plan designs, the first one is what they call classic with Manhattan. That's $25.88 a month. The plan B, what they call plan B with GTL, or in Manhattan it's called Premier, that would be $40.41 a month, and then the deluxe or what we call plan C with GTL would be 43. And GTL would have comparable rates, slightly cheaper on the 65 to 70 for their plan A, and slightly a little bit more than Manhattan on their plan B and their plan C. But as they go up, the next age band, just to show you, to keep it in perspective, from that 65 to 70, the next one would be 71 to 75. And I'll just pick on Manhattan just to make the math easy. It doesn't jump up dramatic. It goes from $25.88 up to $38 a month. And it goes up a little bit more on the Premier from $41 to $61 a month. And it goes up from 43 to 66. But remember how much coverage you're providing and how easy, there's always a trade-off, how easy it is to get access. And again, they go all the way up. And the great news with Manhattan is that issue age band is 45 to 89 on their standalone home health care. And then GTL has its own advantages. And of course, where Tom is right now with the InstaPivot, it has all this information where not only the age availability, but the underwriting availability, and the state availability.
Right. And this is our InstaPivot tool that we tell our home office folks they probably want to have somebody get familiar with it, but you don't have to worry about it too much as an agent if you don't want to. Some agents will embrace it. Our guys who are specialists in long-term care love this opportunity to be able to look at any state and say, hey, I'm in Alabama, what plans are available, and it'll turn green for all the ones that are available. And we do have a couple extra ones in here right now that you can easily hide if you want to by going up here. But I'm not going to train you on this today, but it is nice. You'll see the age bands, and you can view additional information for any of the plans up there. And you can see in the brochure, the rate guides, you're going to be able to have access to the rates right there as well. So pretty simple stuff. And if you go on any of the sites, I have too many things open, so I got to find it. If you go on any of the sites here, like our home healthcare select site, you can go down and you can find how to do the quoting very easily and go right there and get to the enrollment platform. And any of these will have the ability to go in there and check rates. So if you're curious about how much it would be, you can definitely do that. So I've got somebody else coming in here. Phone call to go over a scenario. Yep, you can call us and go over and we can help you out. Somebody typed if we needed to. You can contact your marketer first and whoever invited you on this webinar, and we can go in and help you out there. And that same agent asked about California. And remember, with California, the one thing we have is true freedom plans available in California for all these policies. So it's a great little prepaid home healthcare plan that we can talk to you about. So
yeah, and that person asked from California, if they'll let us know maybe in a follow-up email who their marketer is, we might have another solution also available in California for them as well, Tom, that's not part of this initiative. But again, we want to make sure we're coordinating with the marketer that invited you on this, so that we're not overstepping where you're getting your normal marketing support. Even though we want to be a resource to you, we want to make sure that you know that whoever invited you on the call is where we want to make sure that you're going back and maybe let them know that you'd like to have them involved in a follow-up call as well with us, and we're happy to do that by including them. But Tom, I think we've kind of hit the point where there's some good questions, but I want to make sure we're available to be sensitive to the people's time frame today in terms of, as you said, we never know if these are going to go short or long on these webinars, especially one like the Coach's Corner, when it's more impromptu. But the site is just fantastic. I wanted to say about the InstaPivot, whether you use it for your own internal information or just go to it for just simple things like the state availability and just some of the other product information. All of this is available to you at no cost because you're part of your partner is part of our family, the Integrity family, and therefore you have the opportunity to get all this information to help you succeed.
You bet. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time. This is Tom Randall, and on behalf of myself and Dennis, really appreciate you spending the time. We have more webinars coming up, so check that webinar invite from the marketer who got you on here. And again, like Dennis said, the only reason we're not offering to say we'd love to chat with you and help you is we don't want to overstep our bounds. So talk to your marketer, and we can go ahead and reach out after that if they feel it's okay. We'd love to help you out. So appreciate all your guys' time. Thanks for the great questions. We didn't hardly have to sit and beat you over the head to say, please talk. This time people were typing in things pretty quickly and asking questions on the Q&A and the chat. So thank you for that input. Appreciate it. Other agents who listen to this later will appreciate that. And with that said, we'll let you go. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, everyone.
The next step is yours. Contact your marketer for more information and to start offering short-term care solutions to your clients. And be sure to sign up for our other short-term care hot topic webinars.